The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. Batasan Complex is now a fortress, with President Bongbong Marcos set to deliver his second State of the Nation address later today. Giving us more details on this is Camille Samonte. She is reporting live from Batasang Pambansa in Quezon City. Camille, how are the SONA preps going on?
Diego, all security measures are now in place inside the Batasan Pambansa for the President's second State of the Nation address. Guests are required to show their accreditation ID to enter the gate. The security staff also uses an online system to verify if the guest is accredited and included in the list. Over 2,000 guests are expected to attend the SONA. This includes members of the Congress, former presidents, as well as some sectoral stakeholders and foreign dignitaries. The South Gate is a designated entrance for congressmen and the VIP guests like senators and cabinet members of the president. As for COVID-19 protocol, vaccinated guests will have to show their vaccine cards, while unvaccinated attendees will require to show a negative RT-PCR test taken yesterday. Meanwhile, all vehicles entering the gate must also undergo under-vehicle inspection system. Signal jammers will also be placed across the Batasan complex, and the area has been declared a no-fly zone. Diego, a few hours before the SONA begins, the plenary hall will be locked down until the President's arrival. Diego?
Thank you for that report. That was Camille Samonte reporting live from Batasang Pambansa in Quezon City. Lawmakers in both chambers are now returning to office to open the second regular session of the 19th Congress. After a 2-month break, senators will deliver their priority measures for this Congress. For his part, Senator Robin Padilla said he would continue to push for charter change during the second session. The lower chamber also expects the Budget Department to submit the 5.7 trillion peso National Expenditure Program or NEP for the year 2024. Meanwhile, House Speaker Martin Romualdez vowed to pass the expenditure plan on the third and final reading before the Congress goes on break again in October. Romualdez also says the House is committed to pass 9 of the 44 priority bills of the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council or LEDA. Lawmakers are also gearing up for President Bongbong Marcos' second State of the Nation address later today. For Senator Chis Escudero, a good SONA should be on a reality check on the true state of the nation. Similarly, Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel says he wants to hear unfiltered truth in the President's SONA. Meanwhile, Senator Bongo wants to hear Marcos Jr.'s plans for pandemic recovery. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. Militant groups have already converged along Commonwealth Avenue for SONA Day protests. Earlier today, Bagong Alyansa Makabayan or Bayan set up a giant revolving gold coin near the Commission on Human Rights building. One side features Marcos Jr.'s face, holding a windmill with his administration's tagline, Bagong Pilipinas, while the other side shows the president as an alleged robber. Transport Group Manibela has also begun its three-day strike to oppose the December 31 deadline for consolidation in connection with PUV modernization. Some drivers still choose to ply their routes though, despite the planned strike. Meanwhile, some protesters from UP Los Baños are burning a quote, bootlicker Marcos effigy in Philcoa. They say this symbolizes Marcos and his predecessor, Rodrigo Duterte's relationship with China. The Philippine National Police has installed CCTVs around areas where the rallies are. They're also going to stage a harana as a grand gesture of the maximum tolerance that they will implement toward the protesters. At around 11 in the morning, the multi-sectoral groups will converge along Tandang Sora Avenue, the designated limit of their rally. What can we expect from President Marcos' SONA, especially on the economic front? To discuss his expectations, we have with us on the show University of the Asia and Pacific Economics Professor Ronilo Balbieran. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Prof. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Diego.
Okay, sir, let's get right to it. Your assessment of Marcos' economic agenda during the first year. What do you believe should he highlight in this SONA?
In this particular SONA, I think him appointing himself as the Department of Agriculture Secretary, so the priority is very clear. It's agriculture and food security. And in fact, that's the number one in the socio-economic agenda. No? So food security. So I would expect that he would highlight some achievements, him being the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture. And I think he would have many things to highlight. For example, the labor force survey of May 2023, wherein the agriculture actually for one whole year produced the largest amount of additional jobs across our sector. So 1.6 million additional jobs only for the agriculture. So we can see some developments and some success in relation to agriculture, and our GDP first quarter of 2023 posted a surprising growth of 2% for agriculture. So I think in relation to that, we would expect him to be telling us what are the other plans in relation to making sure that we sustain and even expand this particular growth in the agriculture, because agriculture has the highest employment multiplier among all sectors.
Okay.
No, you devote investments in agriculture, it will produce at least 7,000 jobs for every 1 billion. So we would expect his promises, for example, on ordering DPWH, DOTR, DTI to support agriculture. So the food logistics plan, I suppose he will mention that. And then, of course, the support of the Build Better More, the BBM program on infrastructure to support agriculture. But two more I expect. No, so one is on tourism, because we are recovering our tourism. So therefore, tourism is one of the highest output multiplier naman for every 1 peso invested there. So it will have a large effect on our general economy. No, so tourism, once we receive all these foreign tourists, so we can expect that we can have more impact on the employment, local income, local job generation, household income. So we are happy to see that there's a newly approved National Tourism Development Plan in accordance to the newly approved Philippine Development Plan. So I expect that our president will be highlighting that, no, that we have a solid plan for infrastructure and promotion of tourism. And then lastly, I would expect him to be focusing his plans on manufacturing, because manufacturing has one of the largest backward and forward linkages of our economy. So it is important that he highlights his plans in relation to moving our manufacturing to higher level state.
Aside from those mentioned, Prof, the Maharlika Investment Fund is expected also to be bannered in this SONA. Do you think this measure was rushed? Does it have enough safeguards?
That is yet to be seen, no? But what I would like to see is there a roadmap already? Are there already candidates for our Maharlika Investment
Okay.
Fund? No? So since we have mentioned this ATM, no, the cash sources of our society, agriculture, tourism, and manufacturing, I expect that our Maharlika Investment Fund would be focusing on promoting our country, our economy for
Okay.
investments in these three areas, and so we can actually focus on the job generation and income generation of this Maharlika Investment Fund. So I would want to see a roadmap, no, a roadmap
Okay.
on where these investments are coming from and to which sectors these investments will be poured into.
Well, hopefully that will be discussed. Now, President Marcos has had a lot of overseas travel in his first year, where he touts a generation of investment pledges. In fact, tomorrow, I think he's set to go to Malaysia for a state visit. Do you believe, Prof, that the economy will be able to feel the benefits of these investment pledges very soon?
Yes, I believe so, and especially if we continue working towards the enactment of the laws that he enumerated in his persona. Remember that he enumerated 19 policy priorities, and this should be enacted very soon. No, we have seen that they are able to actually railroad the approval of the Maharlika Investment Fund. I expect that they will be able to railroad the enactment of the other 19 policy priorities. For example, and in three areas, no, I call it three I's: internet,
Okay.
infrastructure, and international trade. So on the internet, we expect, no, he promised to legislate the Internet Transactions Act, or the e-commerce law, the amendment of the e-commerce law 20 years ago. So, and then the e-government. So he promised e-government. On infrastructure, he promised the new PPP Act to
Yes.
abolish the old BOT law, the Build, Operate, Transfer, and also to create a new PPP Act. And then the 30-year National Infrastructure Program as a combination of that. The National Land Use Act, which will actually pave the way for better infrastructure development. And then, of course, the Department of Water Resources. So,
Okay.
so these things these laws must be legislated very soon. Otherwise, our investors might actually pull out if these promised legislative priorities are not enacted into law very, very soon. I think it should be legislated in the next 3 to 6 months, if ever we are to feel these pledges coming into our economy.
Let's talk about, Prof, inflation. Several surveys have said that most of the Filipinos right now are unhappy with the situation of inflation in the country. How do you think then should the Marcos admin deal with inflation in its second year? Should he also push for higher wage hikes?
Well, at the end of the day, to really solve inflation sustainably, you really have to increase supply. No? So, number one, our inflation trend is actually going down. No? So there's not much increase already in our inflation rate, and so that will give a lot of cushion to our national government to deal with supply problems. Kasi in the last 12 months, no, they were dealing with problems that were actually caused by the Russia-Ukraine crisis. A lot of it was actually a product of that. No, now that we have actually priced in, quote unquote, the impact of Russia-Ukraine crisis, so we are now able to actually see inflation going down all the way to, we forecast it to be less than 3% by December. And so for us to sustain that kind of trend of inflation, we should be focusing on the supply. No? So not on the demand itself, because demand will be coming in, consumption will be going up, tourism arrivals, especially from foreign tourists, will be spiking up. So therefore, there's no problem with demand. The problem is to really match the supply, the demand with substantial increase in supply. And so agriculture, logistics, energy are the name of the game in relation to really having a very, very manageable, sustainable inflation.
Well, thank you very much for your insights, and unfortunately, that's all the time we have. We hope to hear from you again, Prof, and thank you very much, Professor Ronilo Balbieran, Professor from the UANP.
Thank you, David.
Here's what you can expect from One News as we cover the President's second SONA.
On July 24, President Bongbong Marcos will deliver his second State of the Nation address.
Tayo ay nahaharap sa mga problemang kagyat nating mararamdaman at mga hamong pangmatagalan.
How did the Marcos administration fare in its first year in office? What's the plan for the economy, education, health, and national security?
But we have and we will continue to find solutions.
Look back. Look forward. The men and women of One News and One PH in full force bring you a blow-by-blow account of this historic event. Seasoned journalists and experts on the economy and politics will help flesh out the President's report. This is the SONA 2023 special coverage. Monday, July 24 at 2 p.m. Catch it only here on One News. All sides, all the time.
And those are the top stories of the hour. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.